This is the Joe Watson Show podcast, Northern Ireland's smallest podcast.
Hello folks, what about you? There hasn't been a podcast this week and I have no explanation other than I was flying at work. But this is Sunday and I'm doing a little sort of a quick, I don't know how long it's going to last. Could last a couple of minutes, could last an hour, could last a fortnight. But I've been thinking, and usually when I'm thinking, it can be quite dangerous. It can be quite dangerous, it really can. And so yeah, lovely. Thanks, Joe. I've come on all sickly, sniftery, and I don't know. It wasn't like that 5 minutes ago. Anyway. So, I've had a thought, and I just, something dawned on me. I've been looking at some of the podcasts around Northern Ireland, and there's a common theme. 2 or 3 of them have a thing called, or they're produced by a thing called the 1L Studio, meaning Hollywood. Here in Northern Ireland, there is a town called Hollywood, but it's not the Hollywood in Los Angeles. It's Hollywood with a 1L not instead of the 2. And Rob and I had a conversation a way back after the recording of the last episode I did with him, and he talked about a podcast network, and it's got me thinking, because the Joe Watson Show podcast, it's a thing of its own. Finally. Now, it's not uploaded onto the Roadcaster Pro, but I finally got the new intro. This is the new intro.
This is the Joe Watson Show podcast, Northern Ireland's smallest podcast.
Yeah, so I finally got the new intro edited, and it's going to be put onto the Roadcaster very, very soon, before the next episode, obviously. But what Rab was talking about is to be a host of different podcasts, and I love the creative side of podcasts, and I love logo making, intro making, jingle making, all that stuff. And then it comes to the creating of the thing, the actual sitting down and doing the presenting of the thing, and I do enjoy the host. I enjoy being the host. I enjoy doing the things, but it's a pain in my ass all the time, if you don't mind me saying that. It's hard work being a podcaster, it really is. But this has got me thinking, should the Joe Watson Show podcast become a wider range of things? Should the Joe Watson Show podcast become just the Joe Watson Show, and then the podcast each week could be something different? And my thought process, I've put WD-40 into my brain there to get the cogs going, the creative cogs going, and it's got me thinking. Each week is a different topic. That's fair enough, but maybe under a network, there could be a different kind of podcast each week. Instead of a different kind of topic, what about a different kind of podcast each week? If you know, maybe I'm not explaining this right. One week it could, but see, this is exactly what I do. Each week come up with a different topic. But should I do a different kind of podcast each week and maybe have a different voice some weeks? I talked about the Blethering podcast, and it is still in the works, by the way. Sammy and I our schedules are sort of clashing at the minute, and he's got a lot of work on with what he does. He does a radio show every day on Fuse, and he also has his own work in the local learning disabilities thing project they have in the town here. So Sammy's always tied up in that there, amongst other things that he does with family. And me, I'm tied up right now for the next 2 months, because I am actually studying for my ham radio exam I'm going to become a licensed hammer. Not ham as in you put in your body, but as in a communications radio. So I'm going to be like a registered body with Ofcom doing things with ham radio, and there'll be antennas going up over the house, and Mrs. Watson will be like, why doesn't he? No, sorry, not Mrs. Watson. Mrs. Wilson, Mrs. Watson's mother, will be saying, why, Laura, why does he need all the aerials up on top of that roof? You know, your dad never was like into this. You know. Anyway, so so I'll be busy. I'm going to be flat out the next. I'm studying. I'm reading a book. I'm doing mock exams every day. I'm trying to get my nose into the book every night when I come home from work, just to read the book from cover to cover, from cover to cover to cover to cover, front to back, back to front to back to front. Trying to get that the stuff in my head, things like circuits and the lingo and call signs and frequencies and wavelengths and bands and coax and antennas and oscillators and modulators and all that stuff that's to do with operating a ham radio, an amateur radio. So I'm in the middle of learning all that stuff and UHF and HF and VHF and all that there stuff that comes with that territory. FM, AM, sideband, SSB, CWs, that's continuous wave, that is Morse code. Not actually learning Morse code at the minute, but I do have an interest in Morse code, so once I get my ham license, I may go down the route of going to do a Morse code thing, mate, where I could learn Morse code. Not that I would practice it a lot, but I have an interest in it, so I might go down the road of that as well. So I'm flat out the next wee while between my own radio show, my work. So yeah, the next wee while I'm sort of, tied up. So I don't know, the Blethering podcast will come, but maybe the Blethering podcast could be a part of the bigger network. Obviously, Sam and I sat down and discussed it one day, should I say, and we said that we wanted to do a radio show where there'd be music, but we also would quite fancy doing a podcast version where there'd be no music. Now that Fuse FM in their Studio 2 has a Rodecaster Pro, then we could actually meet there, once a month or so, sit for 2 hours and do four shows, 4 half-hour long episodes, just Blethering. So that's what our thoughts are on that. But so the whole network thing, that's where I'm at. The Joe Watson Show podcast, it's safe, don't worry. But maybe each week there could be something different other than the Joe Watson Show podcast. Maybe one week it could be Joe Talks Ham or I don't know. Or I could maybe get other small podcasts involved where they could use me as an outlet. And right, here's the thing. This podcasting started out as a hobby, and it always will be a hobby. Same as ham radio. It's starting out as a hobby, it'll always be a hobby. You can't make money out of ham radio. You probably could, but you can't. Podcasting, you can make money out of podcasting. But here's the thing. If I was to make a podcast network, I would need to probably charge smaller podcasters to come on here and do their thing, or for me to produce their podcast. But here's the thing. All that money, if there's money involved, that money would have to go towards the upkeep of a website, a YouTube channel, would go to the upkeep of, monthly subscriptions, that sort of thing. So that could be an area I could go down. I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet, but I would love to hear from you guys.
Email the podcast at joewatsonshow.com.
So email me there, let me know what you think. I would appreciate if Rob would message me and we could have an hour wee yarn about what I could do with this, and if what I'm saying now is right, or should I go on a wee bit further with something different, or maybe I haven't grasped What do you guys think? Have I grasped the idea right, or is my idea, or is it not bad? I love podcasting. I do love podcasting, and I love the idea of the whole design end of it. And I do love thinking of a topic. And I have, even talking about this here has actually got me excited again about podcasting. I do get wee blips where I'm sort of excited and I talk about something, and I could last for an hour talking. And other days I just do a podcast for the sake of it. So maybe those weeks I don't feel, could be an idea that I could have that week off, but have another episode of something different to share under the umbrella of what I do now. So say Sammy and I have a line of episodes recorded a week that I'm feeling bleh. Obviously, you couldn't do it'd be exciting, but maybe once a month do something. So maybe the Joe Watson Show podcast only comes out once a month. This, me talking, comes out once a month. But then, once a month, there's also something else. So every week, there's something different. So on a Friday this week could be the Joe Watson Show podcast, where I'm talking about what I'm up that week, what I'm at, or what's going on in the world, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then the following week, it could be the Blethering, me and Sammy. Next week, it could be some other podcaster under the umbrella of what I do. Or do I change the name altogether? And the Joe Watson Show podcast is actually that wee episode that happens once or twice a month. And then the bigger thing could be Studio 74. That's an idea. So it's to find other smaller podcasters out there, because I belong to a network on Facebook called the Northern Ireland Podcasters and Network, and it's everybody on there is pretty well set up, pretty well, standardized, pretty well up there, that are there and they're doing their thing and they're working it out. So for me to find someone that's maybe wanting to join me and record their podcast from home, and then I will do I'll do the hosting of it and charge them as little as $5 a month. I don't know. I just don't know. And that $5 a month would obviously go towards the Podbean account. Or scrap all that. Put that aside. Here's another idea I had actually thought about. I'm in the middle now of studio. The studio that remember the studio I built out in the garage. The future of that is actually going to change a little, because hopefully when I pass my exam, my ham radio exam, that will become my shack with my radios, and then I will be able to move my this out there as well, so that'll be my shack and my studio at the same time. So so I'm hoping to do that. So where was going to, yes, so I would turn that into like a mini YouTube studio as well, like I've been decorating it slowly but surely. So maybe I scrap Podbean altogether and have a YouTube channel for the umbrella, and have this as a YouTube channel, and each week's something different. I'll leave that up to you. I'm leaving it up to me, obviously, to make the decision, but I get your thought process on it. And I'd love to hear what Dave, Brian and Chuck think as well, because they always have good answers as well. I may have answered one of my questions there. So So that being said, that's how my thought process is working at the minute. And by the way, happy Father's Day to the fathers out there. As I'm recording this on Father's Day, all the great dads out there, happy Father's Day to you all. So that's it for the day. That's it for the episode. And I just thought I would come on and do my rant. Or it's not even a rant. It's just sort of a thought process with you guys. I've also this is quite cool, because I have now corrected the way I talk into the Rode Podcaster, or the Rode Pod mic. Instead of talking up here, and you can hear all the but you know, it's yes, it sounds quite deep and it sounds quite cool. But if I bring it back a little bit, it sounds more natural and it sounds more. I think it sounds more professional. So anyway, that's it for the day. I'll go and get this uploaded, and you guys let me know what you think. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. It's my bin day tomorrow, Monday, so I must remember to go and put the bin out now, because I'll never remember in the morning. Because when I get up in the mornings, I brush my teeth, go to the loo, whatever you do, your morning ablutions, come down the stairs. I don't even have breakfast on the mornings. Come down the stairs, throw on my shoes, and just jump in the car and go. So I always forget about putting out the bin. So I always put the bin out the night before, because I'm just lazy that way. So I'm a way to do that. So thanks very much for listening, and I would love to hear your...
Email the podcast at
your opinions.
Remember to check out the website, joewatsonshow.com.
And with that, it's goodbye.